Welcome to Learn Short and Typing with Vikas sir. Transcription number 43 and 44. आपकी 1600 वर्ड्स रहेंगे. एट द 80 वर्ड पर आपकी डिक्टेशन होगी. आप इसको जो डिक्टेशन की हेल्प लेते हैं तो आप इसको हमारे चैनल को लाइक कर सकते हैं, कमेंट कर सकते हैं और सब्सक्राइब जरूर कीजिए अगर आप एसएससी स्टेनो की तैयारी कर रहे हैं या किसी अदर एग्जाम की भी तैयारी कर रहे हैं. सो बी रेडी, स्टार्ट. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, at the outset, I must express my thanks to the honorable members on both sides of the House who have participated in the discussion on the sixth five-year plan document. Honorable members will very kindly appreciate that within the short time at my disposal, it will not be possible for me to clarify all the points which they have raised during the course of the discussion. I am going to confine my remarks to certain important aspects of the discussion, though I have taken note of almost all the points which honorable members made during the course of the discussion. At the outset, I must also say that one of the honorable members was pleased to ask what is the purpose of having this kind of a discussion 1.5 years or almost 2 years after the plan has started. I do not know whether honorable member do recollect that my predecessor Mr. Tiwari had circulated a note to all the members of this house, particularly about the sixth plan framework, and he expected that the honorable members will be able to send their remarks to the minister and also to the planning commission so that before the draft document of the sixth plan is prepared and finalized, their views could be taken into account. How many members sent this kind of information is a matter which I will have to inquire into, but that exercise was gone into and now the plan was finalized in February 1981, and thereafter we have taken the earliest possible opportunity to see that the plan is discussed in both the houses. Sir, I am aware of the fact that the international situation and also the internal situation in which this sixth five-year plan has been finalized will definitely have some kind of an impact on the plan document as it was prepared and how we will be succeeding in trying to avoid the adverse effects it might have on the achievement of the physical targets that we have set off for ourselves at the end of the sixth 5-year plan. Sir, there are three points which were mentioned by all the honorable members. The first thing was that the plan was prepared with 1970 and 80 as the base year, and therefore there has been price rise of a considerable order. Sir, the first thing which I would like to clarify is about the inflationary trend which has set in. One of the honorable members, Sri Shankar Ghosh, a very experienced member of this house who had also been in the planning commission and knows the in- intricacies of how the things are being worked out, has been pleased to state here that the rate of inflation is very high, and added to that the balance of payments position is going to be very bad compared with the percentage that we have worked out for the sixth plan as a whole for imports. For the first year, the import bill has risen very high there. Then how is this assumption going to be correct? That is the point, and a very valid point which he raised during the course of the discussion. Sir, he also mentioned about the Honorable Finance Minister making his speech at Kanpur, wherein he seems to have made a reference that a little inflationary trend is a kind of stimulate to the economy. Sir, the inflationary trends we cannot view in isolation. Honorable Sri Shankar Ghosh will definitely agree with us that there are two factors which will have to be taken into account. The first factor is the international situation which is now obtaining. Secondly, whether we like it or not, we have to import the oil products. If they are to be imported, can we take a serious view of the situation? That is a thing which I am sure most of the honorable members there will be able to appreciate. The second aspect is, why is it that we have such a high import bill in 1981 when the plan itself commenced, and when we were talking in terms of 9% immediately in the very first year it jumped. I am sure that most of the honorable members are aware of the fact that it is on account of the kind of legacy that this government got. I would not like to delay on that issue, but the fact of the matter is that the agricultural production had been gone down. Even in the industrial sector, there was a decline of 1.4%. The coal production had considerably gone down in terms of production, and the electricity generation was at the lowest. If we had to make a beginning, which in fact is within the control of the government of India, with these infrastructural facilities which will have to be provided both in the agricultural sector and the industrial sector. Concerted efforts will have to be made. Stop. Next transcription number 44. Mr. Vice Chairman, the Minister of Railways has given us some impressive figures regarding route mileage, the number of passenger trains that run every day, the number of goods trains that run every day, the number of millions of passengers who travel by train. He has tried to compare them in view of the vastness of the country, the large number of passenger trains being run, the large number of goods trains being run, and the big route mileage. He has tried to show that the number of accidents that have occurred is not quite alarming. I don't know what his idea was when he tried to compare the number of accidents agents against this background. Committees have been appointed when serious accidents took place to find out why such and such accident took place. And the Shah Nawaz Committee, which was appointed in 1956, gave a very voluminous report. Therein they had stated the causes of accidents that occurred during the period before, and they had also suggested some preventive measures. The government have again appointed another committee headed by Dr. Kunjru. It is more than 8 months or so. I do not know why an interim report has not been submitted by this committee. It would have been better, at least for discussion on such an important subject like this, if that committee had submitted an interim report. We could have offered more constructive suggestions. Unfortunately, the committees that are appointed take their own time to submit their reports. Maybe the government is partly responsible for they may not be cooperating with the committee in giving all the material that is necessary for the committee to come to some sort of conclusions and give their findings on such an important question. Time and again, we have discussed this question of accidents, and I was really pained to see how the minister tried to minimize the seriousness of the railway accidents. He also quoted in the other house the figures, the number of accidents that are taking place in other countries, particularly America and England, the conditions that are obtaining in these countries and that are obtaining in India are totally different. And there many of the accidents take place not because of follies, not because of the limitations under which those railways work, but mostly because of the environment that there has been in those countries. So he did not mention the figures here but took refuge under the guise that our railways work much better than the railways work in other countries and that the rate of accidents India is much lower than the rate of accidents in America or England, sir. By having this discussion, the railway board and the railway ministry should be able to learn some lessons and if they are prepared to implement the silent suggestions that will be made by the members, then many of these discussions will not take place and many of the accidents that take place these days will not occur. It has now become almost an everyday affair. After the statement was made by the Honorable Minister in this House and the other House, another accident has occurred to a deluxe train. It is therefore incumbent and imperative on the part of the railway ministry to see whether they could avoid these accidents. Many of the accidents that have occurred not because they are accidents but because of the wrong things done by the railway ministry. When a train leaves the station, care is not taken to see whether it has a defective engine, defective locomotive, whether proper check was made of it, whether the bogies that are attached to the train are properly checked up, whether the screws and bolts that are checked there are properly placed in their proper places, and so on. These are all things which, if properly inspected, will show whether the train is fit for travel or not, and if these things are properly adhered to, many of the accidents will not occur. A member in the other house has reported a statement from the statesman of Kolkata that the loosened people asked the driver of a particular train to somehow manage, even though he complained that he could not take the train. He tried to manage. When the train arrived very late, he was said to have been handled by the crowd for the late arrival of the train, and he is reported to have stated to the correspondent that in spite of the protest that he made, he was asked to task that locomotive which was very defective. Last year, similar accidents occurred. For instance, the Ranchi accident. It is also reported that the engine driver protested when he was asked to take the train because the engine was defective, but in spite of his protests, he was forced to take that engine and an accident occurred. I am glad that an inquiry commission has been appointed to go into the cause of the accident. Full stop. स्टूडेंट्स ये जो ये आपकी एक्सरसाइज मतलब ये जो डिक्टेशन है आपकी ये आपकी था 1600 वर्ड इसलिए है कि ताकि आप लंबे डिक्टेशन लिखने की आप हैबिट बना लें काफी अच्छा रहेगा तो 800 जो वर्ड होंगे ना आपके तो बिल्कुल ही आसान लगेंगे इसलिए हम 2 डिक्टेशन आपको प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं इसको आप लिखें और इसको टाइप करें एक बार लिखने के बाद नई वर्ड समझ में कुछ वर्ड समझ में नहीं आते उसके बाद फिर से दोबारा से लिखें इसको थैंक यू